In relation then to some of the injuries, I'm thinking of freak injuries that you've dealt with in the past as well, would be the Shane Duffy injury that was on the training ground up in Malahide at the time. I'd just actually come out of the squad at that time, I just finished up playing. But how was that then? Obviously you're away, you wouldn't necessarily have everything available to you on that pitch at the time. I don't know, you tell me any different, but at the stadium you're thinking you've got everything available to you, you've got ambulances or whatever it would be you'd need at that time. But this was a freak, this was totally different.
For people who don't remember, this was basically, it was like a sunny May evening out in Malahide. It was a behind closed door challenge game. There was a few of us there, media, who were allowed to watch on for, I think it was a developmental Irish team. There was a lot of young players.
It was a League of Ireland
against an amateur selection. And this was a absolute, happens every match, defender and goalkeeper collide.
Yeah, so it was the junior international team, and we had, I suppose, we had prepared in the same way we normally do. We had 2 ambulances on site. John
Sorry, I didn't know. Sorry, that's this right. Yeah.
John O'Byrne was. There is a good lesson in it for all of us, I suppose. John O'Byrne, our orthopaedic surgeon, was there. We had all our medical equipment, and of course, again, it's different when you get to know somebody really well over time. Shane was 19, and it was almost like a third string, with no disrespect to that group, second stroke third string. And I remember going over to the physio of the junior international team, and I introduced myself, and I said, look, if you need anything during the course of the day, I said, I'm more than happy to help out. And it was a free kick, and the keeper, I think, came out with both legs up, as his style, and it looked like, it was hard to see from the sideline, but I remember when I looked back in the video, Kieran Murray went onto the pitch first, and if you check, if you watch, if you count, he makes a decision at about 11 seconds to go like this to me. But I know now we're so onto the pitch. Within about the same time frame, I turn around and say, I can't tell you why I knew. Darren O'D, and this is no disrespect, Darren walked by, he said, don't mind him, Doc, he's just winded. I swear to God, that's as Darren might say, because it looked
Darren O'D just tweeted us tonight, by the way, to tell you,
did he?
that you're the best doc around, so I would say
sorry about that, Darren.
I would say that, yeah.
No, he didn't.
He says what footballers say.
It was a typical thing, and to be honest with you, that was, if you're asking, looking back on that, because Shane nearly died, and without John O'Byrne's decision-making in the ambulance, and without the matter and all of that, Gerry McEntee, who did the surgery, he would have died. I mean, he bled 3.5 litres into his abdomen. One of the weirdest parts of that night was the manager had given us the night off, and I was meeting my wife with one of the kitmen, Mick Lawler, and his wife, go out for dinner. I said, I can't go, I've got to go to the matter. So when they found where the problem was, they were going to operate, and I was with Shane's dad, if I remember correctly, his uncle, his nephew, Pat Cussler, who's the head of FAI operations, I think, at that stage, myself and John O'Byrne. And we're in Phibsborough, and I'm trying to think what we do. So this is ridiculous. We went to Eddie Rockets to have a cup of tea, because I didn't know where else to go. So we're sitting there in the booth, and John O'Byrne gets a phone call after about 20 odd minutes, and he goes out, and we can see him walking up, and he comes in, and you know when somebody's walking, and as he got closer, I wasn't sure what he was going to say. He said, they found everything is fine, they've stopped the bleeding, Shane is fine. And we ran out of the Eddie Rockets, jumping around like, Shane's father said to me, Alan, it's like winning the World Cup. And I said, Brian, I think Brian is, I said, it's Brendan, I said, it's much bigger than that. And you're talking about Everton, actually. The chairman of
Bill Kenwright.
He was in LA, he rang me about half an hour later, because he'd heard about it, and so we went in to see the surgeon, Gerry McEntee, who was unbelievable. The next day, went in twos to see Shane, you know, and Dick Redmond, who Kevin would know, Kitman, everybody knows Dick. They had to cut the jersey off, so Dick was giving out about having to cut the jersey off, and Shane, I remember Shane saying to me, he said, Doc, I'm sorry if it was too much trouble, you know. He's a big scar here going like, I said, too much trouble, you know. So a few days after that, it definitely dawned on me that he could have died, you know. And that was probably the only time. But at the time, it was not. It was like, call the ambulance on, get going. Right. I do remember meeting his dad at the ambulance, said, you better travel in the ambulance as your son is very unwell. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew he was sick.
Because we have a picture there, actually, of the scar that Shane Duffy had back when he was playing with Everton. Like, it's, as you say, it's a good, 6-7 inches?
Well, it goes across and up, I thought initially the way he traumatized the sac around his heart, which is an unusual injury, but of course it's a very serious injury. But this, when we looked back at it, my phone got blocked at about 387 text messages from people I didn't even know. And we looked up in the literature, and this had never been reported in the literature in, obviously, soccer, Gaelic football, rugby, NFL, Aussie rules football. It had never been reported, the rupture of this artery in that situation. So, but that was unique. Well, it is unique by definition. But and it was probably 4 or 5 days afterwards that it dawned on me that, you know, a funny thing, my wife had organised a surprise 50th party for me, and it was a few days after that, which I, you know, for lots of reasons, I was thinking it would have been really something we couldn't have had, you know.
Yeah, like the way you talk about that injury, it's a freak injury, but it can't be a freak thing that you saved him. It can't be a freak thing that when you got there as a medical team, you realise it wasn't that he was winded or that he'd broken ribs or that it was something that you might see on a regular basis.
Well, to be honest with you, Nathan, I'd love to tell you, I mean, I perhaps the few days after, as it dawned on me, because somebody definitely helps you in those situations. Obviously your own experience. I just knew he was unwell. I hadn't even examined him, but I knew he was really unwell. And I'm just glad that we made a decision. I'm not just Kieran Murray, myself, all of the people who helped out. John O'Byrne made an unbelievable decision to change direction and go to the Mater as opposed to Beaumont. Not that just that's where the expertise was, and obviously Gerry did the surgery, you know. So.
Well, he's certainly making the most of his second chance. That's
yeah,
sure.
it's great to. Yeah, sometimes when he's on the treatment table, when he pull up.
Yeah.
No, I said, where'd you get that scar? Occasionally.
Yeah, you'll never ever forget it.